Okay, this is the fourth video in the series for how to create a table in Revit. And in this example, in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to use the sweep tool, which is very much like the extrusion that we've worked with previously, only this time we're going to take a shape or profile and we're going to extend it along a path, which is a series of lines. You know, in the past, an extrusion can only be extended along a single axis or along a single line. And the major difference with a sweep is that we can use several different lines to form the path, so it can have turns, it can have corners, it can have curves, and the shape will be extruded along the entire length. So to begin with, let's turn on our work plane and just make sure that it's still set right up here underneath the table. If it's not, you can always go to Set and you can select a different work plane. You can select the bottom of the table, which is the one that we want. Okay, and now that we're here, I'm going to go into the reference plane so that I look at this from the top view. Not that you have to, you could actually do this in 3D. The reason I'm doing that now is because I want to see my green guidelines. They're going to help me to create my path. So create a sweep, just click on the icon here, and you'll notice that it's comprised of the path, which we've talked about, and also a profile. And this is all grayed out because it's asking me first to create my path. And once I've done so, I'll be able to accept the green check mark. So you could either pick lines by just picking the path, or you can sketch, and I'm going to demonstrate with the sketch option. Either one of them would work here, because I could go in and just click on those green lines under the pick path, and that would work. Instead, I'll trace these. And click the green check mark to show that we accept it. These have now become available, and I'm going to edit my profile. And something to point out here is that it recognizes there's no way to draw a profile in this view. I'm going to close this to further explain this. This line that showed up here, which when I was editing was green and much larger, that represents the beginning of the profile, where the profile will start along the path. And the line, just like when we created a reference line, that's why I wanted to show this in green, this is nothing more than or a reference plane is what I mean. This is nothing more than a reference plane that was automatically generated, which means you need to be in a view where you can look at that from the side and draw your profile directly on the plane. Now if I go into a 3D view, you'll better understand this, because there's the plane right there. And for this exercise, we could actually stay right here in 3D, and we'll draw on it from here. So if I go from the right hand side, this is a work plane that's sort of condensed. You can see it's much smaller. Let's accept that path one more time, and if we edit the profile, there it is. There's our work plane. And again, we have to be looking at this from the side. Okay, so the shape that I want to draw should be something like a 1x4. So we'll draw this so that it extends down about 3.5 inches. Okay, I went over 1/2 of an inch there. And I'm going to come out and extend about 1/4 of an inch if I can. Let's try doing it this way. I'll draw this so that it extends 1/4 of an inch. And that tells me that I'm going to have to extend the whole thing back, and then I want to go down about 1/2 of an inch. Now I'm being very meticulous and careful, and that's not necessarily something you have to do. Okay, so now I'm going to select the whole thing and just shift it back, and I don't want this to even touch the edge of the legs here. I want that to be entirely set back like it is now. You could do any size here, you know, that's just what I decided to do, but any shape, any size is going to work. So let's accept the shape and look at this again in 3D to give you a better visual. Again, that's the profile, and there's the path, and it's going to take that and run it all along that distance. You have to accept the green check mark yet one more time in order for it to show up. And there it is. Okay, let's turn off the work plane for the time being to give you a better view of this. Okay, there's the skirt, and you'll notice that it doesn't really interact very well with the legs because I created it such that it runs right through them, which you can do. Overlapping geometry isn't really going to be a problem here. We still only see the parts that are not overlapping. However, we don't see any of the lines that sort of define those edges. And I can make that happen by joining geometry. JJ is my shortcut. Select both the skirt and that portion of the leg, and there we go. If you don't have the shortcut set up, then it's found under the Modify tab, Join Geometry. I only had to do that once because each of these legs is just one form, and so joining it with one of them joins it with all of them. Okay, and that's it. That's how you create sweeps. I encourage you to experiment with that and do something more than just a simple rectangle. Try lots of other shapes for the profile, lots of other paths and other line types, curves, and see what you can come up with.